So I'm just gonna sit right here and we're gonna watch. So I just introduced one of the new female alligator snappers into Tony's pond. When I received both of those females, they'd obviously been fighting a lot, and clearly one of them was much larger and heavier, so she kind of dominated the other female. And I noticed when I was feeding them here in the enclosure that one was kind of stealing food from the other one and bossing her around. So I think I'm gonna try putting her in with Tony. And I think that being in the presence of a male will kind of calm that down. Also, there's a lot more, like, Tony's pond is just full of logs and stumps and places to get underneath things. They can get all underneath this, all underneath that right there. Right now, she's actually, if we zoom in, you can see her face. She's actually wedged herself under part of a log right there, and just been kind of hanging out there. Obviously, this is a new pond, so she doesn't really know where she's at, so she's just playing it safe. But yeah, everything's going good right now. So I've got like a little stool here, and I'm just kind of chilling, kind of watching both of them. At some point, Tony is buried under all these logs in here in the deep end. At some point, he's going to notice either her scent or visually notice her, and he's probably going to come and check her out. And it looks like she might even be coming up for air pretty soon. So I wanted to just kind of sit here and be present for kind of the first interactions and see how this goes. Obviously, if I'm here and he's stressing her out and she's trying to get away and climbing out of the pond, I know it's a no-go, and then, I'm here to be able to kind of fix that. I didn't want to do this while I was out of town. So, yep. Also, just a nice day to sit and enjoy the pond. On a hotter day, I'll actually get in here. So what's up, Chris? What's up, Adrian? What's up, Roblox? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's having a good, Thursday? Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. That bucket right there. So that's my Ring camera. So when I was out of town, I like to be able to look at my Ring camera and see what's going on in the ponds when I'm not here. Yes, lots of microorganisms. There's, lots of things like dragonfly larvae. There's, tons of tadpoles, but smaller stuff than that. There's, little tiny insects. I'm sure there's probably every aquatic freshwater microorganism probably in here. Obviously, it's filtered clean water, so I don't think there's any amoebas or anything, but there's definitely some cool stuff in here. Ostracods. I don't know what that is. I would love it if you would explain it, because I would love to learn and find out what that is, because it sounds really cool. So if you want to educate me on that, maybe I can even try and find out a way to see if there are any in here. But I did see like some water boatmen playing around over there a second ago. And tons and tons of dragonfly larvae. Oh, look, there's something moving around on the bottom right there. I see some bubbles coming up. Lots and lots of stuff in here. Lots going on. I want to start a bridge. Like, I put these bricks right here to be like a support for doing a bridge over this. I just couldn't bring myself to cut down my hibiscus. So the hibiscus is kind of right where I wanted the bridge to be. So I've got to kind of figure out what I'm going to do. Okay, tiny crustaceans. Yeah, I've seen some crazy little crustaceans in here. I did, when I was trapping this week, I did see some stuff called stoneflies, and they're like a little underwater bug with like two long hair looking things coming off the abdomen. And I want to say I've even seen those in my ponds. I think a lot of that stuff kind of rides in on birds and anything that kind of visits the water. And also probably can come in on things like driftwood and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Yeah, this is in my backyard. This is one of my ponds. I've got this one here. I've got an old one I built over there I want to redo. I've got way over there, I've got like a stream pond. And I've got some like kind of stock tank set up. So yeah, I love having lots of water in my backyard. It's relaxing, and I can kind of sit up there on my back deck and enjoy the sound of it. So there's no aerator in this one. So there's a skimmer box over here, and the water goes in that skimmer box and then goes underground all the way over here to the biofalls. And so the biofalls is right there, and it's essentially kind of a big tub. The water comes down and it just kind of recycles the whole time. I do not have any Japanese fish. You want to see an adult Carinatus? We can try and find the female Carinatus. Let's see if she'll show up. She's over in the aquascape pond. We can usually find her. She's pretty outgoing. I'll see if I can find that Carinatus. Woo! Almost tripped and fell on the live. All right. My daughter plays with everything. So I've got like toys and stuff out here now. What a life change. She's got her little pool to play in. Yep, she's been playing with everything out here. So yeah, this is part of the aquascape stream. I guess for people that haven't seen this before, the wetland is up here. So it wells up from underground into here, comes up through the gravel, comes down through here. There's a series of waterfalls, comes through this section here, comes down, another little waterfall here, goes through here, another waterfall here, and then this is kind of more of the, it's kind of a big L-shaped pond down here. Got some basking turtles there. And this is kind of where all the fish and turtles live, is down in here. I know somebody was asking for a Carinatus. I'm gonna see if I can see her. She's usually around this area. She looks like a rock, so sometimes she takes a minute to see her. Where you at, lady? But yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's nice having this. It was built by a company called Aquascape. You can look them up on YouTube and see tons and tons of pond builds that they've done. And they did this one in about 2 days, back in 2020, I think. It was like the end of 2020. And, you know, these things just, the longer you have them, the more they just grow into being like a real habitat. Like all of these plants and stuff you see, just kind of, apart from like the ugly variegated vine, the ferns right there, I think were originally planted here. Some of the flowers, but I mean, stuff like these lilies, and I mean, there's, most of this stuff grew on its own. So let me see, where is the Carinatus? Man, I think she's gonna stand us up today. She's usually down here. So the other thing with this pond is, so I was shorted rock on this build. So what we did is we took the rock we had and put the liner going underground. So there's like underground cave systems. So, you know, there's some small alligator snappers and musk turtles and all that kind of stuff. So, and the fish and everything can kind of hang out underground. And that was how we made do with having a lot of liner, but not a lot of rocks. Let's see. Oh, no. Where are you at? Man, I got stood up by a musk turtle today. How about that? So maybe the next time I jump on live, we'll jump on live and start here, and I'll make sure that the razorback musk is out. So, yep. And then it's crazy. So I got this piece of driftwood when we built it, and that was just like a little sapling, and now it's turned into like a full tree. And that's, I think, a river birch or something like that. So it's a tree that naturally grows near water. And then my buddy from Audubon brought me another one. And I've got a bald cypress there. And then that plant there, that's called a joe pie. So a lot of these are native plants that grow near water. And I kind of wanted some of those just so it's a little bit more natural. So I like having like the joe pie, because that, and let's see. So these over here, and a lot of people might think they're weeds, but I really like these. So these are river oats. And so these grow next to the rivers where I go herping and where I go trapping turtles. So I like it. So I can come home and it feels like, you know, same plants where I'm setting traps and looking for turtles. So pretty cool. Look, there's a ladybug. Woo, there goes a ladybug. Yeah, and pond liners, it's cool. If you have some pond liner, like, you know, I have some sitting back there. I mean, it's just something like this waiting to happen. You know, you got to get some of the other materials. You got to formulate a plan. But having some pond liner just gives you so much ability to make things. It's heavy as crap. That's why it sits right there. But it's really cool. Here's another Gulf Coast box turtle. These guys are really awesome. This one's an old tank I was given this by a guy who was moving, and he had like a whole group of these. And some of the ones in these are actually offspring from adults like this one. Look at that. Look at that big, beautiful beak. He's not exactly like, you know, doesn't want to be my buddy, but he tolerates me. I just consider him to be kind of an old man. I respect him, let him do his thing. I like to keep branches in here so they get plenty of exercise and crawl over stuff. Gives places for like little bugs and stuff to hide under there so they can look. Yep, earthworm just went under there. So that's why I keep these in here, is so like your earthworms have a place to hide. And when your earthworms have a place to hide, you're always gonna have earthworms for your box turtles. But he's gonna run this way. Let's see, there's another big one over here. That's another big old guy. Yeah, these guys are cool. Really, really cool. And what else do we got? We got some bamboo back here. I just stepped in a water bowl. That's awesome. Did that live. Woohoo! Over here is a mountain tortoise. Always cool to see the mountain tortoise. Looks like it's foraging right now, digging around, catching. These guys actually are very carnivorous. I've seen this thing, you know, kind of like a box turtle, go around digging up worms. They'll get into like a nest of baby mice and eat the pinkies. They're pretty gnarly for a tortoise. Let's see, is there anything under this rock? Let's see. Nope. But mountain tortoises are cool. These are like the largest tortoises in Asia. And this one's still just a baby. All right, bye-bye. We'll go this way. Good view of kind of the back of the yard. Like I said, I got a baby pool for my daughter. Got a stock tank for moving some turtles around. So kind of a mess, but that's kind of what I'm working on here, is stuff like that. We also have, I'm gonna try and be respectful with this, is we have a nest of cardinals right here. They decided to build a nest up in here. I don't really want to mess with it too much. I want them to feel safe. So yeah, try and let everybody do their thing. Let's see, we'll get in here. We got some flips right here. Sometimes you can get salamanders and frogs and stuff. Let's see who's under here. I think that was a bullfrog. Oh, what is that? Yep, that's the that's the bullfrog. Look, you can see his face right there. See his face sticking out? Yep, that's the bullfrog. Where you going, bro? Where you going, bro? All right, I'll let you have your house back. And then this is some watercress. This is edible. You can make like, use it in like soups and stuff. So I'll actually grow some of this and we'll eat it kind of in noodle soup and stuff. And grows really great in the stream. I love it. I love being able to like grow stuff that we can eat. Whew, already getting hot too. We'll go back over here, go back to our little spot, see if we can watch this female alligator snapper. See if she's getting comfortable yet. She's still sitting in the same place. Let's see, she is right there, sitting under that log. Just kind of taking in the new habitat, so that's pretty normal. These are like one of my favorite plants for doing like natural filtration, and also gives a place for, you know, somebody was asking earlier about, you know, microorganisms. I mean, these root masses and stuff can be like essentially like a metropolis for, you know, crustaceans, snails. I mean, you see right here, this one has a little snail on it. So it's really cool. I love having a ton of this stuff. It's also highly invasive, so it may not be legal everywhere. But that's why I don't feel bad when I find some and I remove it. Do a backflip on a skateboard. That's not really a thing. I mean, some people have done it. It looks kind of goofy. But if there's one of those, they used to have these things at skate parks, and you would go and launch, and then there would be like a foam pit. And like that was like the kind of stuff you would try in there, is you'd be like, oh, okay, I can't get hurt, so I'll try a backflip, you know. So it is possible. Let's see, anybody have any questions? Oh, yeah, Manoria. So that was a Manoria Emmys fayeri, the black mountain tortoise. Do I have a watershed? There is a creek behind my house, and occasionally I do get like musk turtles. Actually, I had a slider show up here the other day. Don't even know where that came from. I'm assuming just part of that creek. But yeah, I've had like some musk turtles. I think I've had a hatchling common snapper show up here before. So that it does happen. Bothers me a little bit because when they show up here, that means there's a way of getting through the fence, which I don't really want there being a way of getting through the fence, because then that means, you know, maybe I'm losing hatchlings or something. So a little scary. Ideally, if I had enough money, I would buy a bunch of 10 and then just kind of countersink the 10 along the entire perimeter of the fence. Yeah, this would be a great habitat for an eastern painted turtle. And actually, back in late winter, when I realized I needed to fix a few things on this, I was having an issue with the pump. I actually took Tony out and put him in a stock tank, and I put all my basking turtles in here, and they loved it. It was really cool. If I put them in here now, you know, Tony's gonna probably try to eat them. And you know, I built this pond for him. So what I'm gonna try and do is, their pond is up there. I'm gonna try and renovate that, and also make an addition in the back corner back here. I think back right in there, I'm gonna build another pond and then split up the basking turtles so that everybody has a little bit more room, a little bit more space, and I think they'll do better. What's up, Jose Rodriguez? You grow some weed. I mean, I'm definitely growing weeds, but I don't think I'm growing that weed. I know people who do, and you know, good for them. I don't really know what else to say about that one. It's cool though. Like, I can sit here, and even if Tony's not moving and doing anything, and this female's not doing anything, I'm watching this dragonfly, and there's 2 dragonflies, and they're mating right now. And then you'll see one, and they'll go and they'll take their abdomen and just go to the water surface and do that, and they're you know, kind of dropping eggs in there. Is raising turtles like a hobby for me? You know, I've had turtles my whole life, pretty much since I was, I don't know, before I was 10. So it's got to be close to 40 years now. So it's kind of more of a lifestyle. I mean, because they live so long, you're kind of always taking care of them, and you're doing different things in your life essentially to kind of work around that. So for me, yeah, like turtles are more of like a lifestyle, and I don't know, I feel like the word hobby just doesn't encompass how much you end up actually having to do. So yeah, it's a hobby, but yeah, it's definitely a whole lifestyle, and you know, I enjoy it, but it's definitely it's a lot of work, and definitely sometimes it's frustrating. And I just think about what life would be like if I just had like a simple apartment, you know, like oh man, I'd have such an easier life. I can't wait to be very, very old. Like, yeah. I don't know if I'm very, very old. I'll stick with just one very on there, but yeah, I mean, let's see, we got this house when I was 30, in my late 30s, and before that I was renting. And you know, when I was renting, I had smaller setups, and when I was renting, it was cool because you have to be ready to you know, move, so you're not doing anything permanent. So when I was renting, I got the opportunity to figure out stock tanks and kind of get good at how to do stock tanks, and that I felt like set me up to be better at doing ponds. And then kind of making friends with the people at Aquascape and stuff, I feel like that gave me the chance to really learn a lot more. Like when I built this pond, and there's some places over there that are exposed, you can see some of it sticking out. But one thing I learned, especially with the alligator snappers, is you want layers. You don't just want your liner exposed. So, you know, I've got, you know, underlayment, the liner, which is the thickest liner, and then over that more underlayment. And then I also did like spray foam around the rocks and stuff. So you really want to make sure that you've essentially built underwater armor, because these guys are going to move stuff around. You know, this didn't look like this. Tony moved all this stuff around. I mean, when I built this was so much prettier, and for me, visually looking at it, it was perfect. Everything looked amazing, and I'd actually used like screws and like screwed everything together, and now he's completely destroyed it. And that's what they do. So, you know, I added some leeway for him to actually be able to kind of move things and destroy them a little bit. And, you know, that's essentially all you can really do is just, work with the nature of how they are, I feel like I'm rambling. Does anybody else got any other questions? I got to head out in a little bit, so I just wanted to jump on live, kind of share what's going on with you guys. And I have a new video. I just did like kind of a walk around, talked about some of the things I do when I get back from trapping, showed some different turtles. So that video will be out this week. So it's like a little mini tour and just kind of check in. There's a few different types of turtles in there, not just the snappers. I know I have a lot more than just snappers. I feel like I end up showing that the most. But a lot of other stuff. Yeah, the cooters are definitely the goats. I really want to build an epic cooter pond someday. So that's a future goal. So if I build an epic cooter pond, I can swim in it, and swimming with those guys would just be so fun. So thank you guys for jumping on. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Peace.